Today we are shaking things up a bit with the Digital Transformation Playbook written by David Rogers. Odds are you've heard the term digital transformation quite a bit over the last year, but let's talk about it one more time. And of course, I always have to shout out those who recommend books for me to read, so a huge thank you to Dino Trevisani for this stellar recommendation. And just a quick overview of this book, it discusses the main challenges that legacy companies or companies that began before the internet now face in the digital age. And it's no surprise that some companies don't make it when major shifts take place and there's disruption in the marketplace. I'm sure you can think of many companies that are no longer around today. And the one that comes to mind for me and is the most painful is Blockbuster. I miss Blockbuster. Roger's main idea, though, is that digital transformation is not about upgrading your technology, but about upgrading your thinking, adapting it to become more strategic and really more agile. We love that word, don't we? Rogers goes into 5 domains of strategy that are being impacted by digital transformation. So we have customers, competition, data, innovation, and value. I'm going to touch on the data and competition sections today. So each domain has a dedicated chapter that delves deep into the challenges and opportunities that have come about and how to address or leverage them. It also has some great tools, practices, and outlines that you can implement or utilize if you're looking to build new strategies or understand where you currently land in the transformation process, and then a lot more that you can do with them. He gives great examples which detail how these steps should look and when they are implemented, which I think it would be very helpful. So as I mentioned today, I'm going to keep it simple and talk about 2 things that stood out to me from this book and hopefully can be helpful to your business, your clients, or even in your personal life, because we should always be looking for ways to apply our learnings to our everyday lives. So first, let's talk about data. Data. What is the challenge with data? What's the big deal? Well, there's an enormous amount of data that can be and needs to be turned into valuable information. Think about how much data you produce. It is absolutely absurd. It is estimated that at least 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is produced every day. And the site where I found that statistic kindly explained that that's 2.5 followed by 18 zeros. That's a lot of data. So what do we do with it and how do we make sense of it all and in a way that actually adds value? This book gives the example that the weather company found that our snack food purchases are impacted by the weather. If it is sunny or cloudy outside, we might be more likely to reach for a certain kind of snack, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Or maybe you knew that when it's sunny, you are more likely to want ice cream. But did you think about how that impacts businesses? Leveraging data in the correct way, retailers can use predictive analytics to predict when they will have spikes in sales, all based on the weather. So when you leverage your data, the value is limitless. And the main point of this chapter is that you must have a data strategy and a good one. Where's your data coming from? What data do you need? And how are you going to use that data? I was thinking about how we could apply this to our personal lives as well, as I always do, all about self-improvement. And I was taking some data science training one day and a quote said, if it's not being measured, it doesn't exist. If it's not being measured, progress doesn't exist, insights don't exist. If I have the goal of improving my mile run time, but I'm not measuring my mile run time, then how do I know if I'm improving it? Besides feeling that I'm running faster and sticking my finger up in the wind. I recently joined a new gym and they constantly do benchmarks and you have clear insights into your fastest speeds and your average. And I can look at that and see where I need to improve and how I'm improving over time. So if you're working on improving something, consider measuring where you are. And similarly, it is so important to have a strategy to turn your data into an asset and then implement that strategy. Here's another really cool example from the book. Caesars, the casino, can determine when a repeat visitor is having a bad night on the gambling floor and will send a service staff to offer an unexpected gift, a steak dinner, tickets to a show, so the customer won't leave feeling they had bad luck at Caesars and should try another casino. Absolutely brilliant, and if you've received a free steak dinner, it is not luck, at a casino at least. So that brings me to the idea of siloed data. Rogers talks about the traditional idea where different lines of business keep their data separate, and this is what we call data silos. When you're doing this, you miss out on a vast amount of value. So think about it this way. Combine your mile run time with other bits of data in your life and see how it correlates. Maybe track your sleep, your water, your food intake, and then your mile speed. This is like connecting your Apple Watch fitness levels to your MyFitnessPal, and with this combined data, you can see trends and insights into your life. And after a while, the data and insights would reveal something very valuable to you. Maybe it shows that you actually run faster when you eat a granola bar 2 hours beforehand, or that when you eat ice cream the night before, you run your slowest mile. Knowing these things can allow you to change your strategy for running a better mile. And maybe you don't eat ice cream the night before you run. And here I am talking about ice cream again. This might not be the perfect example either, and it's super simplified. But if you connect your data, I guarantee that you will uncover surprising correlations wherever you apply it. You will discover more about your clients, your business, or even yourself, as we've talked about. So that really only scratches the surface on data, but I think that's enough for now. Make sure you have a data strategy in place, and where possible, remove data silos. And you may know I work for IBM, and if you ever want to discuss data and AI and tools for collecting, organizing, and analyzing your data, just shoot me a quick message. And a disclaimer that these ideas presented do not represent my employer's beliefs, but my own, just to throw that out there. The next idea that grabbed my attention within this book was the idea to build platforms, not products. This was discussed in the competition segment of the book. And think about it, competition is happening now across industries. Platforms as a business model are causing a lot of friction and a new idea of what competition looks like. So what is a platform? Roger's definition of a platform is a business that creates value by facilitating direct interactions between two or more distinct types of customers. And then he gives a lot of examples to help illustrate this definition. So think about Airbnb. You're bringing together the host and the renters, two distinct types of customers. And then you have Uber, you have the drivers and the riders, again, two distinct. One advantage to this model is that they are very light in assets. Airbnb does not own any hotels or any locations, and Uber does not have any cars, yet they have been truly disruptive. And this lightness in asset also allows them to be highly scalable. Airbnb does not need to buy land and build a new hotel to grow their business. They are an asymmetric competitor to hotels because they offer mostly the same value as a hotel, but they have a completely different model. This is such a fascinating idea to me, and from a legacy company's point of view, I think this would be quite daunting. What are you going to do? Sell all of your assets? No, and a hotel operating under a platform business model would not really work. But what companies can do is they can try to understand their competition and figure out where they can leverage the competition and understand the degree that they should collaborate. Rogers uses the term co-opetition here for the mix of collaborating with competition. And there's not one perfect answer for overcoming these challenges. You have to work through a lot of these ideas, and it depends on your business, your customers, but Rogers does give some great tools, and you can leverage them, and I highly recommend going through these practices in order to upgrade your thinking and your strategy. Again, I only touched on data and competition today, but there are many more insights in these sections, as well as customers, innovation, and value. So the Digital Transformation Playbook contains a wealth of knowledge and definitely a recommended read. So check out the book from your local library because those still exist and we want to support them. So until next time, happy reading.